basketball fans, welcome back. So KPA got dealt their first loss yesterday in the CF Maputo game, and CF Maputo, they're the defending champions. So that game was going to be quite difficult. And looking at the way KPA played in their first two games, you might think that this will be a smooth sailing for KPA team. But the loss to CF Maputo is actually, it goes deeper to the core issues that KPA suffers. And KPA, I've mentioned in prior videos that KPA are only good when they match up against below average teams. And had KPA been able to win this game against CF Maputo, this will have marked as a turning point and shown that KPA have the ability to match up against elite talent and elite teams. So the elite teams in this WBLA season are Alali, ASVCD, CF Maputo, Reg, and APR. So those are the teams that are a major threat to KPA. And if KPA able to go ahead and avenge the losses of the WBLA qualifiers against Reg or APR if they meet, this will have marked as an improvement point, and this will show that KPA at least improving. But the way the KPA team looked in that CF Maputo game yesterday, especially at the fourth, really goes to show you that KPA are not a team that have the ability to dominate when they match up against elite opposition. So in this one, this game against First Bank, it was relatively easy, and First Bank are not an elite team like that. Don't get me wrong; they play basketball, but they are not posing significant resistance, and they are not a threat to KPA, and that's the reason as to why KPA dealt them easily, and the final score was 82-53. So this was a very good performance by KPA, and KPA in this game, when they finished this game, they were 2-0, and the next team that they were going to match up against was CFV. So CFV, they're the defending champions, and they are the team that you cannot, afford to have a bad offense or defense like that. And one thing I noticed with CFV, they were very good at capitalizing on KPA's mistakes, especially when it came to defense. There are a couple of plays where some of our KPA players, most notable Masiwanyama, Alexis Johnson, the new addition, they were getting burnt in some plays. And when I was watching that game, even when I did a rewatch of that game and I did a playback, I saw there were a couple of possessions and a couple of sequences that KPA did not exhibit good defense or good offense at that. And I'm going to even point and even say a few names of some KPA players who really had a very, very not so nice game. And Aminata, she really struggled in this one, and she had a record 9 turnovers in this one, which was crazy. When I watched when I was watching the game, I had the stats on live, so I was seeing everything that was happening on the star sheet and also the game footage that the game was live. So every single turnover that Aminata had really costed the team, and Aminata did not look great. It was such a poor performance. Sarah Dickey, our new acquisition, she played virtually the whole game, and she played all 40 minutes. Alexis Johnson, 31 minutes. The reason as to why Alexis Johnson didn't play like the whole game was because of, the foul trouble, and she got injured in that game, so it wasn't good. Natalie had 5 fouls in there. Aminata also had 5 personal fouls and 9 turnovers, which was bad. And the worst player on this team, was Barbara and Aminata. Yeah. Then Saradiki was also there. Her 22 points does not mask the fact that the team was literally struggling in this one, and it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty at all. And one thing I must point out, and I cannot miss to point out, is the fact that this game has a ripple effect to what you're going to expect with KPA's performance, especially when it comes to the elite teams. So KPA's ability to be able to knock down their shots, especially from downtown, will be something that they must improve on. And I don't know if they have enough time, because today's a rest day as per recording of this video, and they're going to play in the quarterfinals tomorrow. So I am not sure how KPA is going to look like tomorrow, considering the fact that we don't even know what team KPA is going to play until the end of today's games. So this was a tough one. This was a gut punch, and I must say, the coaching staff in KPA, I mean, they have to look at themselves in the mirror and figure out where they are going wrong, especially when it comes to game executions. I mean, this is unacceptable. Look at this performance coming from CFV, not CFV, but CFM. I mean, I know CFV better, but CF Maputo. So CF Maputo, they had a very good first half, and in the first half, I can say KPA were really neck and neck with CF Maputo. And I must say my confidence was up, especially with KPA's approach to the third quarter. They were able to limit CF Maputo to only 10 points in the third quarter, which was great. But when it came down to the fourth, and this is where everything just imploded for KPA, the fact that KPA could not be able to mount any good offense and play even some decent defense, this was the major problem that made them get into that sinkhole where, they conceded 29 points, they only limited to only 11, and the scorers were non-existent in this one. And the biggest statistic that was the story of the evening, even in the post game, was the 27 turnovers and 26 personal fouls in that one. This, I must say, was this was unacceptable. Look at the amount of turnovers that CF Maputo had. Only had 6 and 19 personal fouls. Yes, the CF Maputo are fouling, but they didn't foul at that rate in which we saw KPA, struggle with. And this was the main reason as to why KPA really sent this team to the line most of the time. And we had a couple of players fouling out, so not a good look at all. And even when it came to the rebounds, you could see KPA had rebounding decently. I mean, they out rebounded CFM, but the big question is, what did KPA do, especially when it came to the possessions when they got the offensive boards? Were they going back for putbacks? Were they kicking it out? KPA's offense is very, very streaky and flaky, because when you look at KPA offense, you will see that there is no clear number one, number two option, and you'll always see that they don't respect the shot clock in majority of the possessions, because at one point they're increasing the tempo of the game, but they don't know how to slow down and play the half court. And this was the major scouting report that I picked up when they were playing against teams that are better than them. Most notable in the recently concluded WBLA qualifiers, they really struggled against teams like Reg and EPR, because when the game slowed down, KPA do not know how to have plays to run in the half court. And that's the reason as to why they really flopped in this one. Because CF Maputo knew how to play the half court. They knew when to take the shots. They knew when to make the extra passes. And that was the reason as to why they were able to win. And if you look at KPA's offense, you'll see somebody who is playing in the front court, they don't even know how to set screens. I've seen the weak screens that Masiwanyama was setting up, and that was the reason as to why KPA were not even knowing what to do when they had possession of the ball at the half court and they're on the offensive side of the ball. So that was the big problem. And just to encapsulate all this, you could see the lack of identity that KPA has, especially in these game situations, in these situations where they are supposed to have cohesion. They are supposed to know when to attack. They are supposed to know when to go to certain plays. They do not have go-to plays, and it's unfortunate, because I don't think this is a coaching issue. This is a player issue. And one thing I pointed out was KPA, to give them credit, they went all out to get very good players who can be able to help them, especially when it comes to offense. You could see they went ahead and got Alexis Johnson. She has been balling out. I mean, she has been doing her thing, even despite the poor performance. You could see Sarah Dickey, she did her thing. But if you look at the overall depth of this team, you'll see there's a lack of quality, especially when it comes to the players who have been at KPA for the longest time. Look at a player like Natalie Akinyi, 19 minutes of play, damn near like 20 minutes. Look at what she was able to produce: 6 points, 1 rebound, 3 assists, 5 personal fouls, 3 turnovers. You can't win the game with such productivity. Yes, not everyone is supposed to score the basketball, but looking at how you contribute on the other side of the basketball, you're going to lose the game because there's no enough bench depth. And look at even the players who played heavy minutes and they had the most impressive stats. They played the whole game and they didn't even have a breather in this game. And no team can win with only 2 players going off. You need to have the first unit and the starters playing well. Also, I need to have the second unit playing well. And in KPA, we didn't even see anything of that nature. And that's the reason as to why this game was quite difficult for them. Betty Kalanu, she was being subbed in and out because she didn't do anything in this game. It was very difficult for her. Alima Dumbia is the definition of inconsistency. I mean, this lady, on one end, I find like she can be somebody who can be able to swing this game to KPA's favor, but on the other side, you can see she can have such a performance and it doesn't go KPA's way because she was literally doing absolutely nothing in this one. She couldn't get the rock in this one, and it was game over. Aminata, she played the heaviest minutes, but CFM strategy was to make sure to limit KPA's guards, and they did a very good job at that, to the detriment of KPA's offense. And that's the reason as to why Aminata was forced to have 5 turnovers and 5 personal fouls. She was not being given any limelight. She couldn't breathe on offense. And CFM did a very good job at crowding her out and making sure that no offense comes from her side, because if you were able to limit KPA's guards, and CFM did a very good job at that, they knew the offense was supposed to, run through these 2 players. And as the game went deep, into the game, these players eventually get tired, and even the shots that they could make, they wouldn't go in. And that's the reason as to why, even with the heavy minutes they played, even this productivity, KPA still lost. And it was a heart-wrenching loss because at some point when the game went to the fourth quarter, you could feel KPA could be able to at least do something. But because these players were tired, the starters were tired, if you see Alexis Johnson, Masi Wanyama, Sarah Dickey, Ali Madume, and Aminata Maseku, they were the starters. And you could see they were playing heavy minutes, but the lack of bench depth and the lack of quality at the bench was the reason as to why they flopped in this one. And I've mentioned a couple of players multiple times. Like somebody like Natalie, she's not a winning point guard. It's unfortunate that she's the captain, because a captain is supposed to lead by example. She couldn't. And Betty Kananu, these are players I can mention even them. Natalie, Betty, they have played, and Masiwanyama, they have played in multiple continental games, both in the national team level and in the club level, but they still play like rookies. And it's unfortunate that their game does not evolve when the competition gets tough. Mercy, she didn't have a good game at that. She rolled her ankle late in the game. But if you look at her productivity on earlier parts of the game, you could see it was non-existent. She went to the line a lot of times, but you expect this player to at least be a scoring threat, because if you look at the forwards in the CFM team, you could see Ingvild was the matchup that Masiwanyama should have been looking forward to and make sure that to limit her offense. But you could see Ingvild was a player that Mercy could not guard, and she couldn't guard her. It was difficult. And if you look at the DNP list, you'll see Vilma even didn't get a chance to suit up in this one because of how difficult it was. And it will be a total mismatch if Ingvild met Vilma, because Ingvild will just have her way and just score easily. And that was the story of yesterday's game. And it's unfortunate because as much as we congregate here on this channel and talk about these things, there are things that KPA have gotten fundamentally wrong, especially when it comes to roster construction. Yes, They made sure to get some firepower on offense, but they spent little time fixing up on defense and having a good identity for this team. Because if you look at it closely, you'll see the players that they brought in, they're being utilized on offense, but but the players who are supposed to cover up on their defensive woes are not doing a good job at that. You cannot depend on Natalie to cover on defense. You cannot depend on Mercy to cover on defense. I mean, Betty Kananu, she's not a good defensive player. I've seen her get burnt on multiple plays. This time, I was watching the game and I was shaking my head in disbelief, seeing how many wide open shots the CFM team were able to get. And this was the main reason as to why the lead ballooned, especially in the fourth. And if you look at even their 3-point attempts, they shot decently. I mean, it was a scrappy game. Both teams are shooting at a similar clip, but you can see the amount of shots that the wide open shots that the CFM team were getting. I mean, it was just poor defense from the KPA side, and there were 7 lead chases at that. But it didn't. This does not tell the whole story, because if you look at that game per possession, you'll see KPA were the team that was on the receiving end. Because even when it comes to even the other stats, points from turnovers, things that KPA capitalize on, they play teams that don't have proper defense. This is what was being used against KPA. KPA dominate on fast break points on below average teams, but when it comes to these other teams, they get beat at that. Second chance points get beat, points in the paint, points from the bench. I mean, you can't win with 27 turnovers and 26 personal fouls. You can't win a game like that, because if you don't understand how to take care of the basketball and don't understand your role in the team, I mean, you're just going to get such performances. And that was the story of the game, because to be honest, I was looking forward to a very good and interesting matchup. This game, when it started off promising, but things went downhill when, as the game progressed and the CF Maputo team learned the type of offense KPA was running. It was easy to limit KPA, and beating a team like KPA will not be difficult if you're able to see some patterns on which they go along with in the course of the game. Because KPA, at some point, they were rushing the tempo. They tried to rush the tempo. They didn't obey the shot clock. And they didn't understand. Like, sometimes you go fast. You can go fast. You can have a fast-paced game. But sometimes you need to slow the game down so that you can be able to get good reads. KPA did not get good reads in this game. They were being crowded out at the half court. And it was easy for CF Maputo to have their way against KPA, because KPA don't have very good and consistent 3-point shooters. Even the shooters that are inside in the KPA team are not doing a good job. Yes, I mean, some shots were going in, which was great, but there was no consistency because there's no consistent offense. And CF Maputo realized that the biggest weakness that KPA has is at the point guard position. And if you look at Aminata's performance with her 9 turnovers, they knew if they able to crowd out Aminata and make sure to force her out of the game, there's no offense that is going to be set up for KPA. And another basic basketball, no pick and rolls were utilized. The screen setters were weak, and no one was playing any defense. I saw Alexis Johnson getting burnt on multiple possessions. Betty Kananu was getting burnt. Natalie was getting burnt. Masiwanya was getting burnt on possessions. Mercy does not even know when to grab rebounds. And there are a couple of lineups that I saw that were very concerning with reference to KPA. When you try to go small, which I saw Coach Nabil try to go, you could see when KPA are going small, the CF Maputo team made sure to capitalize on having very good rebounders in the team. And that's the reason as to why they're able to capitalize on the offensive boards. And it was easy because at some point you could see KPA were playing, they looked small in there. And they are not a small team. I believe they are a team that they have the personnel to dominate at the front court, but it just doesn't happen when they are playing, basketball does not translate to good offense. Because look at it. If I look at this and I just close my eyes and say this is a team that they had a bad day at the office, we will be ignoring the main systemic issue with KPA. And I believe KPA, they have the talent to be able to adjust. But it's just a matter of, can they be able to adjust to an elite offense? Can they be able to uh, put up a solid defense against an elite team? Because KPA are on the back foot for the very first time in a long time. And KPA is not their fault they are playing like this. They are not used to playing difficult teams, because if they play difficult teams, they have such performances. But when they play weak teams, this is the type of performance you're going to get. So for KPA, this is this is like somewhat of a new experience, because right now the games are going to get difficult. In the quarterfinals, KPA don't even know who they're going to match up against. It can be Alali, it can be ASVCD, it can be Reg, it can be APR, it can be CF Maputo, maybe in the semi-finals or even finals if they get there, or even when they get there. So the games are guaranteed to get difficult. The first two games, I can say it raised their confidence, which was good. But this CF Maputo game was supposed to set the tempo, and this one I can say was the first game of the tournament, because the two teams, FAP and FIB, those two teams, they were not posing any resistance to KPA. But this CF Maputo team, the defending champions, if KPA able to beat this team, that will have enhanced their confidence, and will have even given me confidence and say maybe they can turn this around this year. But I don't think they have what it takes. I think the identity of the team is off. They don't know who their number one, number two, number three option is. I mean, the scouting report, it was off for the CF Maputo game. And considering the fact that the KPA team had a day off to be able to think about new strategies to beat this team, it puzzles me so much, because you'd expect a team to understand this is a very important matchup, and they need to focus on a good scouting report and understand what type of offense they're going to expect. I don't think they did. I don't think they rolled the tape and saw what they needed to do. And I feel like the low IQ, the low IQ and the Tucheza 2 mentality, like, let's just play, let's just see, maybe we can win, maybe we can't. So it's not a coaching issue, because I feel like Coach Nabil, he hails from North Africa, so elite coach. But the problem is the personnel you have. The new signings are doing their thing. They're doing the thing that they have been brought in to do. But if you look at the other players on the roster, they are failing the team. Players who are supposed to be, helping win games, they're not doing their job. It's like a chore for them at this point. And that's the reason as to why they're losing. And the games that are going to come into the knockout rounds, they're going to get harder and harder. And I'm not sure if KPA will have any form of comeback if this is how they're going out. Because if this is how they're playing, when they're matching up against teams that can actually take it to them, what will happen when they match up against Alali? What will happen when they match up against ASVCD or Reg, APR again? Because these teams have improved from the time they met them. There's a different coach right now for KPA. I mean, in the qualifiers it was Coach Ojuku, but in this one, man, the personnel is off, and the team mentally, they're not playing for each other. I've not seen, I've not seen a type of offense that is or even defense that is on a string and players know each other. Because if you look at some possessions for the other teams, even APR, Reg, you could see they are all on a string. They already know where to find this player. But when it comes to KPA, it's just freestyle basketball. And at some point, it was even going to the extent of hero ball. And hero ball cannot win you anything. But hey, it is what it is. So I watched that game on repeat, and I was not impressed at all. And I held my tongue, because I didn't want to rain on their parade when it came to the first bank game. Because when I talk about a few things that KP are doing bad, I mean, a lot of people label me about a lot of things. But this one, you saw it in 4K, what they were doing. And against a team like CFM, who will show them no mercy, I mean, we have seen a snapshot of what we can expect in the knockout rounds. I am not sure if KPA can be able to even hit the podium at this rate, because the games are going to get difficult. Last year, KPA didn't even make it to the WBLA. They got stopped by Al Ahly in the WBLA qualifiers in Zanzibar. So this is going to be a tough road for KPA, and I'm not sure how they're going to go ahead and match up against the other teams. What exactly can this team do differently against an elite offense and defense? If you look at a team that knows how to knock down the 3 ball, they will beat them hands down easily. A team like Al Ahly, they know how to knock down the 3 ball, and they are defending home court. So I don't even understand if KPA can be able to even make the adjustments to beat them. But hey, it is what it is. So do drop me your comments down in the comments section down below on what you think about this. I'm gonna talk to you guys in the next one. Peace out.